care who it is. This is a brotherhood. And if we stand strong together, we can't be denied. If one of us goes down, we have another, and another, and another that's ready to fight. So let's hit this field and bang them, bang them, bang them. Somebody light me up.
It's time to huddle up. It's the Turf District Podcast. Welcome back to the Turf District, where we huddle up to talk all things Edmonton Elks and the CFL, and we are a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. There is the logo. Thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us live on YouTube or if you've downloaded the podcast or listening possibly on Edmonton Sports Talk Radio. Thank you very much for joining us and taking some time out of your busy week to talk some green and gold with us. I'm Andrew, and as you can see, joining on the screen right away, there's one super fan, Mike.
Hello. Well, I'm still here, so
well, better than some.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So
it's good.
Yeah, it's
good.
It's
been an interesting 48 hours.
It has been
since we were last together with the CFL family at the tailgate. We are going to get, of course, into that story this evening.
What story?
I know, right? Like we have nothing to talk about. A quick reminder, please add your comments on whichever platform you are watching, and we will get to some questions both during the podcast and, of course, in overtime. And I'm sure there'll be a few comments and or questions for us this evening. So throw those in there. Also, if you can do us a favor and support the show, go over to zazzle.ca/store/turf_district_shop and grab some merch. Grab some Turf District merch, kind of like that. And also, or hit a subscribe, hit a like, put a comment, all those things.
Tell your
all
friends.
Help the show. That's right. We want more people in this chat so that we have more people to talk football with. So let's get into it, super fan. The notice came out yesterday morning that the Elks have parted ways with head coach and GM Chris Jones, with Jarius Jackson taking over as the interim head coach, as well as retaining his offensive coordinator duties, and Roy Simon becoming the interim head coach. So big change. I guess we can probably say not a super surprising change, but tell me what happens when you see that message come across.
Yeah, I think, and I just off the top wanted to say thanks to Travis and Sheldon from the Two and Out podcast. They had me on to talk about this very thing last night. As I was saying to them, it was a bit of a surprise in that we just had a bye week. Everything was fine. And now that we have just 4 days between games, they let him go.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're 8-33 over 2 1/3, well, basically 2 1/3 years, it shouldn't be very surprising that the hammer was going to fall at some point.
Yeah, I think we figured out that if we lost this past game, which we did, since COVID, we have 4 times as many losses as we do wins. We are 11-44 since the end of 2019, when we were, or the end of, I guess, 2020, when there was no season.
Correct.
Changes were bound to happen. I did like the way that Rick Lawlisher said that it was, the 0-5 record obviously plays a role, but 3 straight walk-off field goal wins for the other team is just, I'm sure it's a record. I haven't been able to confirm that as of yet, but it has to be. I don't think there's ever been a team that has consecutively lost 3 games by a field goal with zeros on the clock.
I have to think so. And of course, a 3-point loss the game before that too, right? Just not a walk-off field goal at that point. It's just, what's the average? 4 points a game? 20 points in 5 games.
Like, it's just crazy.
The math be mathin'.
Look at you being all mathy.
Yes. It is just one of those things where I feel we're a much stronger team than we were last year, which just should go to tell you how bad we were last year.
Yes. Yep. I agree. And there's definitely things that we can talk about when we get into the game recap that would also kind of point to this direction. I do think part of it is they just needed to make a change, like some type of change. We are sitting in the stands, we're listening to the fans, they're chanting, we want Trey. They're chanting, they're booing. There's a lot of boos, especially at the end of the first half. And I think that it's just the fan base also wants to see what are you doing about this? Why are you just sticking with the same thing and not changing it up? And so I think that played a role in this decision too. Do you think?
I mean, one thing I did say on the Two and Out show was that the coaches or managers or executive that listen to the fans are soon going to be sitting with them. The people that really should be listening to the fans are the owners, the potential new owner or owners that we're going to be having coming in, because that ultimately is where they need to focus their time, is making sure they've got as many people getting through those turnstiles as possible. The president as well, that's going to be part of their job. That's Rick Lolisher's job while he's the interim president. But the coach, the general manager, their job is to win. That's it. It's just to get out there, get as many W's as you can. And when you're not getting them, it doesn't matter who people are chanting for. If you can't figure it out, they're going to put someone in that place that can.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I will, I don't want to spend the whole time. I don't like celebrating somebody losing their job. That's not kind of my thing, but, I actually want to give Chris Jones a bit of credit in the fact that he was pretty good to me, and pretty good to us. And, I stood there on Sunday and asked him questions, and he was really good about it. And I don't know if he already kind of knew that, because that was probably the fastest he's ever come out after a game to come and talk to us. But he was like, we weren't asking him easy questions, and he didn't bite our heads off, nor did he. He did answer respectfully. So I'll give him some credit there. I do think that, and maybe he is even past the good as a defensive coordinator, but I do think he has a role that he could play in certain teams. I just don't think the dual head coach GM thing works in the CFL at all anymore, to be terribly honest, but definitely not in the situation.
Yeah. Chris Jones has forgotten more about football, especially defensive football, than I'll ever know. That being said, everyone else's job in the league, if you're an offensive coordinator, is to figure out a Chris Jones defense and do your best with it. So, and when you're a coach, you can put in the schemes, but if the execution isn't there by the players itself, then either you need to adjust your scheme to the players you've got, or figure out a way that they can perform up to the level you need them to. It's a very tough thing. I mean, he's more of an old school coach. He's a player's coach. And maybe that doesn't work, given that the way you would have coached 20 years ago certainly isn't the way you can coach now, because it's a very different requirement, given all the rules to practices, all the rules to what you can and cannot do with these players. So I don't think that necessarily that's the reason he's not working, but maybe that does play a small part.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think you're right in that, in that players are different now too, right? They definitely have a different empowerment and understanding of the game.
Sure.
And so there is, what's the best way to get things out of the players that you have. You look at, and I know it's a very small sample size, but you look at Corey Mace in Saskatchewan, even when he was in Toronto, and how he just brought the best out of those guys that he had. And you see that now with Jason Moss. You can bring the best out of the guys that you have, and that means being able to relate to them in a way where they respect you and understand your position, but you still have to approach it in a different way than you could 20 or 25 years ago.
Sure. I mean, from all we've heard, the players love him, especially those defensive players, because he's a player's coach, right? He will, go to bat for the players, and
as long as you're his guy.
As long as you're his guy. I was just going to say, I think part of the issue maybe as well is if you're a player and every week you're seeing new faces on that field, you start worrying, when is it going to be me that I get a tap on the shoulder and told to, bring my playbook. Coach wants to see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Although I will say in the last year and a bit, it has been less than that first year was just bonkers.
Oh, it was just a full 18 game preseason.
Correct. It has been better, and the replacements were coming in because either it was a higher caliber player, or it was we had an injury or something along those lines. We haven't had a lot of luck in that department either, so not helping on either front. Not to give them any excuses, but that definitely plays a role. So the biggest thing, and I think one of the biggest questions that got asked afterwards, is how does this affect the Elks cap in the ops cap, which is, we've said many times on this show, is not our favorite thing, not by a mile. But Mike, you kind of figured out and got a little more information on that too, as far as how it was hitting us.
Right. So that was part of the reason that we didn't think that Chris would be let go this season, was because we assumed that the cap hit for his salaries. And again, he was president of player personnel, head coach, general manager, chief cook and bottle washer, pretty much everything. And for another year and a half until the end of 2025 season. So we assumed that if he was let go, we would still have to carry that forward. And as a result, you'd have very little in the way to pay a new candidate. Farhan Lalji was the first person I saw reported, although we had heard it before from Dave Campbell and others, that there was something in his contract that said if he was terminated, then we would be only on the hook for 12-month severance. So that means to the end of the 5th game of the 2025 season. So just under a third, over between a quarter and a third of next year's salary. So again, if you get somebody in here that is, getting a 2 or 3 year deal, then you can sort of spread that over, and it doesn't quite look as low as it was before. Now, Dave Campbell also said there will be no cap implications. I'm not sure what that means. I haven't had a chance to ask him about that, but should be. It'll be interesting to hear a little more as time goes on.
Yeah, because I know Rick was saying we're clear of the ops cap, and I was thinking of the old guys, but wouldn't this be a new one? So maybe I don't know. Maybe it's the way that it's done, or maybe is this the one that we've waited long enough that we could use this as the
mulligan
exception,
for next
the
year.
Mulligan. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that way, then we would stay clear. So that would not be such a bad thing either.
I'm trying to think who was the last one. Is before Jason Moss.
I thought it was Jason Moss,
but we thought maybe.
I thought it was Jason Moss, because then Elizondo we didn't have to, or we carried him, and now then it was Jones. So I think that was a long enough time. So maybe that's what the case is.
Yeah, because that's been 5 years, so possibly.
Yeah, so that totally makes sense. So maybe that's the case. So now when you look forward, we did try, obviously, because of, like you said, the short week, odd time to be making but the change needed to happen. We tried to see if we could wrap Jarius Jackson and or G Roy onto the show this evening, but they were obviously very busy.
Weird.
I don't know with what, like they're just doing a thing.
Right.
Come on. Like, it's a podcast. No,
exactly.
I'm kidding.
Short week or not. I mean, come on.
I'm 100% kidding. We will get them on before long.
Yeah.
But where do you see, like, what do you think the biggest steps now? Like Jarius takes over at head coach.
Yeah.
What are the things that he needs to bring to be able to keep that continuity and keep the guys going in the midst of all this higher change?
Well, obviously, he's been running the offense for over a year now, so I think that isn't going to change much. There was the team released the avails today where they talked to him, and of course, he's been sitting there talking with Shep, talking with Shivers, so sort of get a handle on the defense and special teams side of things, because now that he's not just the offensive coordinator and he's the head coach, he needs to be responsible for all three phases. So I think that's where it's going to be the biggest challenge, is not just being the offensive guy, but have to be responsible for the guys under you, because I mean, you've got guys in place, they can certainly handle it, but the buck stops with you. So you need to be involved with all three phases. So I think that to me is going to be the biggest challenge for him. And just for the players, just getting used to not having Chris Jones on that field.
Yeah, I'm optimistic only because when Jarius took over the offensive coordinator position last year, there was kind of an immediate response from that offense and the way that he ran it and did things a bit differently. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see that same type of positive response at different levels, because if nothing else, it's like an eye opener, right? Oh, right. Yeah. We like, not that they didn't already know that their jobs are always win based, but this is an eye opener when the head coach is gone. And
GM. Yeah. I mean, of course, last year as well, one of the other differences was that we had Trey Ford moved to the starting quarterback at that point. That is not going to happen in this case, nor do I think it should happen in this case.
Yes.
And had this not been a short week, maybe we'd see a Trey Ford package or two. Maybe we'd see a little more involvement by Dakota Prukop. But I think in the press conference, Jarius did say that he would like to get all three quarterbacks maybe a little more involved in the games. So something for us to look forward to. We've asked for it before. We would love to see just different looks from different quarterbacks. Gives the defense something they have to plan for. Just certainly opportunity. But McLeod Bethel Thompson, this is his team. He is the leader of this team. He should be the leader of this team, in my opinion. So people that are calling for Trey, you may see some Trey, but you're not going to see all Trey all the time.
Correct. Yeah. I love the idea of changing it up with different packages. Like I love that. When you see a game this past Sunday where there were parts of the game that McLeod was struggling, and maybe if there was that other package that would just shake it up a little bit. Now, granted, he did pull it together and had a great end of the game. Wasn't on the offense. If you score more than 30 points, you should win the game. And
get us chicken.
Yeah. Well, they did get us chicken.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, bring on the chicken. Actually, because I have to go down to the media fields, I never get up to get the things in time, and they're all gone. So I'm like, no chicken for me.
One thing I did check is I popped into the quarterback ratings calculator all of MBT's stats for this game.
Awesome. Okay.
His quarterback rating for this game was 115.4.
Correct.
That is a solid rating for a game. It's not, 158 is your peak 0.33 or whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you're getting over 100, you can't be saying that the offense is what let you down. It wasn't perfect, but it certainly wasn't the worst phase of this game.
So, and actually I was just looking at that, and so Drew Brown's quarterback rating was 117.
Right.
Would you have pulled him from the game?
Nope.
No, exactly. So it's that's okay. Well, we can talk about that when we get to the game recap.
Oh, we will.
One other thing that I did want to bring up, because it's not the only change we had in the coaching area. Defensive line coach Nate O'Neill has left the team, so personal reasons, it did
Personal
sound
reasons.
like.
Yep.
But coming in and returning to officially in green and gold, Elmondo Sewell in as the defensive line coach. I am very happy about that.
Yeah, of course. We wish Nate O'Neill the best. Family is the most important thing.
Great.
And, family, your health, those are the important stuff. So go take care of yours. And thank you for everything he's done for the team. That being said, having Mondo come back, that's very exciting for us because everybody who's lived in this city and cheered for the team over the last 12 or 13 years loves us some Mondo. And just seeing him on the sidelines on Sunday was absolutely fantastic. Just sort of seeing him there and then hearing the news. There were a lot of exultations, shall we say, coming from our house. And I'm sure for many people excited to see Mondo officially on the sidelines coaching that defense. Let's face it, he's one of the best that's ever put on the laces.
Absolutely. And for a guy that knows how to play that defensive tackle spot, leading other guys on how to make that happen, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a man of not a ton of words, but powerful words when he speaks. So
yeah, it's that smile. When he starts smiling, you're like, oh, okay, is he gonna kill me?
Is that a good smile?
Yeah, it's a smile that offensive line men are probably very used to and not a big fan of.
Exactly. Very true.
I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring in this new phase of his career as a coach.
Yeah, prop bet for this week. How many Mondo jerseys do you see at the next home game? I can't get them all, so that would be a problem. I can't really do that.
Well, if be fair, looks like there's at least one new one.
Oh, there you go. Ever glad Chris saying his latest jersey is a number 90. Good and lucky timing.
Yes,
perfect. Sir. Well done, Chris. That's excellent. All right. Now, anything else you want to touch on for that, or shall we get to some game recap?
I don't know. I got asked a couple of things. One was, do we think we'd ever see Chris Jones in the CFL again? I don't know that that's going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen 2.5 years ago. So you just never know. I don't think we'll see him in Edmonton anytime soon, nor Saskatchewan, and certainly not in Hamilton. I don't see a reuniting with Ed Hervey anytime soon in Hamilton. So you never know.
Probably not.
So that's a third of the league, but you never know, right? I mean, at one point he was coaching South Pittsburgh High School, and then he went to the Cleveland Browns and back to Toronto. So you just never know in this league. So maybe
at some point, it won't be right away. It won't be, but at some point, somebody will say, we need some type of consult on the defensive side of the ball, and he will make a reappearance. I'm sure of it. Like I like you said, the man knows a lot about defensive football. I think that he lands somewhere, but you're right. There's a third of the league that won't be in contention. So
not right away.
No. So that's kind of, and I know there's been a bunch of people playing the either the what if game or what comes next game of who's going to go into these positions, but I didn't want to think about that quite yet. And the only reason is because G-Roy and Jarius, I don't want them to feel like they're, dead men walking. Like, show us what you can do.
This is an audition for the next, 13 games.
Absolutely.
And hopefully more, right?
Yeah. And just like Rick said, they're not prepared to throw the season away. And so the expectation is for them to pull the ship together and make it happen. So
Bob Dice was a interim head coach.
Yep.
All right, So
yep. So we shall see how this plays out over the next while. And as we get closer into the later in the season, we'll do a little more of speculating on where things might land.
Get some report cards out there.
That's a great idea. Yes. All right. Game recap. So we've talked about it already a couple of times. The Elks falling to the Ottawa Red Blacks 37-34 on a third consecutive walk-off field goal. I wonder if at first I was wondering if I should title the podcast Inventive Ways to Lose, or possibly continued Elk explosions. I had ideas.
I did give you credit for that on the 2-and-Out show. That's for sure.
Did you? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Elk Explosions. Yeah.
Elk Explosions. Yeah. I thought that one up as I was driving home and then having to write that article. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm going to call them. Lot of explosion plays in this game.
Wasn't there 6 plays for 200 some odd yards? Absolutely crazy.
I don't know. I look at it, and at the time afterwards, I thought, well, I guess the Elks are kind of giving their nod to the Stampede, leaving 8 seconds on the clock, and Ottawa capitalized. You know, they made the 8-second whistle and was able to kick the field goal to win the game. So
yeah.
Give me your first thoughts on this latest of the walk-off losses.
Probably initial thought was
wow, that was a really bad time to take a sip of beer. Well
probably.
Done. Yep.
Just because I think this is by far the most deflating game, certainly of the last 4 years of the post-COVID time. And on Edmonton Sports Talk yesterday morning, I think it was Matty Iwanek said that this might be the most deflating or most heartbreaking game for an Edmonton fan since the Milt Miracle in 2006.
Ooh.
Just because you were ramping up, you're sort of just winding down to go to overtime, or in 2006 you were winding down to we're winning the game, there's just one play left and they've got 85 yards to go, and they'll stop him or they'll knock the ball down and the game's over. In this case, it's just we're gonna punch it in, great, we're gonna get the extra point to tie it up, and then we'll kick it deep, they'll take a knee most likely, or throw run one pass, and then that's it, we go to overtime. And 29 yards to, was it Pimpleton
Again? Yep.
Right down the middle,
wide open.
This is of course after the kick, which I know we'll talk about.
Yep.
But it was just, again, everyone I know, like I was trying to explain to Thomas, and my son had 2 of his friends with him, and we were trying to explain how overtime works and everything else, and we just didn't get there.
Just nothing.
So then you start, going back and going, why did they leave 8 seconds on the clock? They could have certainly run it off when they were punching it in on the 3rd time. Just run it to zeros and then punch it in. If you miss it, I mean, you were going to turn the ball over anyway, so might as well run it off.
Right.
I've heard people say that Jones was doing it because he wanted to have a shot to kick a single himself, and that just doesn't make any sense. With 8 seconds left, that's just nonsense.
I think that because Boris had done it earlier in the game, he had done the kickoff and got the single point. So it is possible, but I think that's the excuse when he realizes there's 8 seconds left on the clock.
Maybe.
You see what I mean?
Maybe it's, making, chicken salad out of chicken feathers, but
something. But like that clock management at the end was awful.
Yeah.
Like Jarius. Put that on the things to learn. Clock management. It needs to be. I totally agree with you. They should have had, if anything, maybe 1 second left on the clock. But that's it. Preferably zeros. Just, you were running the ball, so it was going to run the clock anyway. Run it in. I don't get that at all. Boris, not his best game. Missed field goal from 31 yards. And then, according to Chris Jones, trying to overpower it to get the single point, and duffs it and out of bounds, giving them the ball at the 50. And I actually said when they scored the touchdown, I looked up and I'm like, 8 seconds. I think I texted it to you, but I'm like, here comes the walk-off field goal. Yeah. And I texted in a 3-down chat too. And then they're like, no way. I'm like, oh, told you. There it is. You can't. We've gotten to the point where we're just like, there's no. But I don't understand how they could go an entire game with that hole in the secondary that Drew Brown ate up over and over again.
Well, all right. I'm just going to sort of break it down for me by like the phases, right? So special teams. Oh, if it wasn't the
Not so
worst, it's
special
certainly close to the worst phase of us. Having the two guys we bring in Boris Beatty and Javon Leake. Boris misses the field goal, duffs that one kick with 8 seconds left, goes out of bounds. And then Javon Leake with that fumble
in the second quarter. Oh,
it is just one of
killer.
those things that, listen, people are going to fumble. But at the timing, and then, of course, with David Foucault like launching the guy off of him, a 15-yard penalty on top of it. Oh, it just seemed to take the wind out of the sails of, if not the players, certainly the fans around us just were like, what is going on? Like, what are they doing?
And McLeod said that was a 14-point swing.
Yeah.
They should have marched down and at least had a field goal, if not a touchdown. They were marching great.
Should have been a 2-point lead going into halftime instead of 2 points.
Right. Like it's awful.
And then defense. I mean, to me, that's the weakest of the three units. You allowed 480 yards passing, which is fourth most in Ottawa football history.
Wow.
Like to put it in perspective, right? And of course, it happens to be on the anniversary of the 713-yard game Matt Dunnigan had in 1994. So, yay, 30-year anniversary.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. So in the last time Drew Brown played in Commonwealths was Trey Ford's first game. It was
correct.
It was Jarius Jackson's first game as offensive coordinator. And between the 3 quarters he played there and the game here, he had over 700 yards passing in 7 quarters.
Correct.
Absolutely.
You think he likes playing us?
Don't get me wrong. He's a talented quarterback, but I don't know that he's that elite.
It doesn't seem to be that elite against
anyone else. Yeah,
us.
I know. It's like Mazzoli always played his best games against us. There's some teams that, or some quarterbacks that play against certain teams better than any other team.
That's true.
But again, with defense, we had 3 receivers over 100 yards. 3 different receivers had to play over 60 yards.
Yeah.
And right down the middle. Like,
just,
oh my God.
If it was for our team, Uncle Tim would have been excited. That's right.
Absolutely,
down the middle,
but,
for 60 yards. Yeah. Pimpleton, quite an introduction. Wow.
Yeah.
That guy can run.
Yeah, he sure can.
It's awesome.
If I'm finding a positive,
not for me, but it was awesome to watch. Yeah.
As a football fan, sure. As an Edmonton fan, not so much.
Correct.
If I had to find a positive on the defense, Oakman, I thought, played pretty decently.
Yeah, I give you that. Yeah.
Cordell Jackson was up and down. He had some great plays, but he was definitely getting victimized. But I mean, you're going up against a pretty solid receiver. So,
but he was playing like, what's the name of that guy in Saskatchewan that played corner last year? That was just like, it's giant reward or giant miss.
But I mean, he's a young guy, and it's only his second or third game, right? Yeah. He had a lot of great potential. He had that interception. Also had an interception. Was it a pick 6 in the preseason?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, like he's got a lot of upside to him. But we really threw him into the fire in this game. So,
to say the least,
Dominic Rhymes is the guy you're covering. But I didn't see a lot of pressure from the defense, like the defensive line.
No.
And with the secondary as porous, I guess, of the defense, the linebacking core got the best grade of the 3 units on defense.
Yeah. Well, late in the game, the defensive line started to get pressure, but then, when it mattered on the last play, they didn't. So, but Drew had a lot of time this game.
Sure he did.
There was a lot of letters being written before he threw balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bad.
And then offense, of course, again, that was the best of the 3.
It was the best of the 3 phases for sure.
Right.
But McLeod had a lot of pressure.
Sure.
For a lot of the
still
game.
Went 26 of 35.
Yeah.
272 yards.
Like,
And no interceptions, right?
Like 74% completion, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, McLeod's not the problem, but he needs it. But they got that nice big run from Kevin Brown early on in the game, and I thought, oh, okay,
2 in a row.
this is going to be it. KB's, and he was fighting for yards, and just like you could tell he was ready to, and then just stop going to him. And then
he
they
had
start
35 yards on 8 carries. His first 2 carries were 12 and 11.
Yeah.
So you're saying 23 on 2 carries, and then what's that left? 13.
12.
Yeah, 12
right,
on 6 carries. So I think that's maybe part of the problem is all of a sudden now he's averaging 2 yards a carry after those first 2. But I mean, it's not like we were behind by a lot. In fact, we were up at halftime. So why did we go away? I don't know. It just seems to be a very constant thing. Maybe there's some decisions that MBT makes, like he's reading something, he's instead of handing it off, he pulls it and makes a throw. I don't know. Like we're not in that room, so I don't know what he's being told. But you know me, I'm always going to be asking for more rushes out of a team. So,
well, you must have loved the first touchdown that we got because that was a wishbone, my friend.
Yeah,
there was Prokop, there was Javon Leake, there was Kevin Brown, and there was Tanner Green, all out at the same time. And as soon as I saw the pan back and I saw them all, I'm like, oh, Mike's gonna love it. And then they scored.
Sure did.
Like, oh, wishbone.
I've been asking. Jerry has a point here. Are you thinking of Nick Marshall?
Yes, that is who I was thinking of. Yes,
absolutely.
I like huge boom or huge bust. It's never doesn't seem to be in the middle. So one other positive that I do have, that miraculous Geno catch, one-handed catch in double coverage. Oh,
that's chef's kiss. My positives were definitely Geno Lewis. 6 catches on 6 targets.
Unbelievable, right? Led the team in receiving like he's supposed to.
Yeah, but only 1 target in the first half.
Correct.
And only 1 target in the third quarter. It wasn't until the fourth quarter that he got the rest of those targets. And I was saying to you and to Paul, like, he's open all the time. And so I started taking pictures, like focusing just on Geno, taking a picture when he was throwing the ball. And Geno might have been 12. And after the game, MBT, to his credit as well, said he needs to maybe move Geno up the reads so that instead of being a second or third read, he's first or second read, because even when he's not open and he's being covered or double covered, he still comes down with that ball way more often than not. The other positive to me is Hergy Mayala. Had a great game. He had that 39-yard catch for the touchdown in the second.
Beautiful catch.
And he had 8 catches on 9 targets for 88 yards, which is 1 yard behind Geno. So, Hergy has been, I think, one of the MVPs of certainly the MOC of this team.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And that Canadian receiver depth all of a sudden is becoming
Canada
exciting, right? We've got Gavin Cobb, Curly Gittins, Hergy Mayala, and now Zach Mathis, right? Sitting on the okay. See what you can do, Jarius. I'm excited. All right. That's enough of that game, I think.
One more thing I want to say, because I want some positive here. Let's end on a positive note.
Wonderful.
I'd like to give a huge nod to the fan engagement team. Dino Days.
Oh God, I meant to say that.
Outstanding.
It was awesome.
The cheerleaders and the Dino outfits in the first quarter,
hilarious,
that was gold.
They have to do that every game.
That's what I said. People around me were saying, "Can they do this every game?" Because that's amazing. All the kids,
awesome.
Absolutely in heaven. I mean, it wasn't perfect. There were people that were complaining that, places they went were out of the Dino Nuggets and everything else.
Right.
That's not on the team though. It's a city run thing. So, but the Dino things itself were all on the team, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I always, when it was first announced, I'm like, Dino Days. Why are we doing Dino Days? But then seeing how excited the kids were, and some of the, the big kids, some of these adults who are still, loving all that stuff, running around thinking this is the greatest thing ever. And it was phenomenal. And I look forward to them doing it again next year or something similar.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. The baby dino race was hilarious. It was so because none of them wanted to move, which was funny. And the T-Rex combine at halftime, which did feature some people that we knew
We
from
did.
the bachelor party we were at that weekend. Man, that was also it was just so funny to watch. And then at the end, like one of the orange dinosaurs were like dancing and did like a cartwheel, and it was so funny. I'm like, this
Yep.
is that was actually doing a theme night really well. I agree.
A few more positives in the chat.
Okay.
Leanne says also good in the game. Obviously Jake, but also the pants.
I think it goes without saying that Jake was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it does go without saying, but it doesn't hurt to say it because, again,
that's fair.
Just pounding that rock.
The one that he kicked and it landed like on the 3-yard line outside the numbers. I'm like, holy, that directional kicking has become unbelievable.
He has improved that so much. And the other positive here from Chris, how many teams give full-size footballs to tailgate pass holders?
Yes.
That was very, very awesome.
That was very cool. And signing football, so you can actually take them and get them
right
signed.
That's just it, is, you know, if you can go on the field afterwards and get them signed, or maybe take it to another event. The team's got signing events all over the city throughout the season. You could bring it with you, get them signed, you know, a couple people sign every time. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So like I said, a lot of positives there for sure. The team is doing the right things.
The off the field stuff was awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes, on the field moments, and then hurtful. That's all I need to say. Okay, so signings. We did also sign a new long snapper.
The press professor
Simon Chavez.
Chavez.
Chavez. Yeah. So that should be. I mean, not that I think Luke's doing a great job, but we probably need a backup. So there we go. All right, super fan. Before we get into some fan questions, would you like to do some Horde Intel?
Sure.
Okay. Let me. Guess what? I need to. You know what I forgot? Hold on 1 second. I don't want to leave this off. Here it comes.
Got to preload.
It's time for Horde Intel. Ta-da! Lovely.
Beautiful. All right.
Beautiful.
So last week I talked about the team's media guides and going back on all the many years of media guides, as well as the CFL facts and figures and records book. But those usually came out in sort of after training camp was done. So for years, like if you've gone to training camp recently, Hernan or someone else will hand you a sheet with the day's rosters and everything else, because they change a lot. Back in the day, they didn't change as much. You brought a lot of people in at the beginning of training camp and went on. So you needed a training camp guide. And that's kind of what these would look like. So this is a preseason prospectus. Here's a 1968. So this is what you would get. Lots of information about the staff. You can flip through and see, you know, what the schedule was going to look like for that season. And then sort of go through the different positions. So I don't know if you can see some of that. So quarterbacks.
Give a little
running
history.
Backs, the flankers. Flanker was the guy that was outside the tight end receiver.
Oh, okay. So is that like a slot?
Sort of, but like there's no slot because there wasn't a wide receiver outside of it. So,
okay.
Right. So that's the 68. There's the 1971. I've got a bunch of these. 72.
You don't say. It's weird.
Yeah. Whole bunch more. 77. I mean, I've got 77, 76, 75, 74, 73. Lots of them. Going up now, we're getting to the good years here. So 1978. So I'm sure if you went to the quarterbacks here, you might recognize a few people. And certainly, let's see if we can get to the quarterbacks here. I don't know where they put them. It's in here somewhere. Defensive coach, head coaches. Somewhere in here is like a little guy named Harold Warren Moon.
Oh, wow.
He was for himself. Yeah. 1979, another fine year. 1980, and of
Oh.
course, the most important year of all time.
Ball. That's right.
The 1981, the greatest team ever to play Canadian football. After 1981, they sort of changed it a bit. This is what the 82 looks like here.
Oh, that's
last year. It looks a lot more like the media guide at the time.
Yes.
But still, great ideas to have who was at training camp, but maybe didn't make the team going into the regular season, which is what you'd see in the media guide. So I collect those whenever I can, and they don't come up very often. But when they do, I sort of snap them up every chance I get. So still a few missing. Maybe I'll grab some, and I've got a lot after the 1982 season as well. But yeah, you can I guess make your own when you get those little handouts that Hernan gives us all. So
that's right. Yeah, just make our own.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of fun.
Binding a book.
Now, before we go away from Hoard and Tell, the all decade 60s team was announced,
right?
And I would love for you to kind of run through this with us a little bit, because
sure,
this is you were part of making this all happen. So
yeah, this was a fun one. As I've said before, I was a part of a committee to help select the all-decade teams. And the 50s and 60s were especially fun because I've done a lot of research on these eras because it's before my time. So I was always sort of keenly interested in that. Plus, it was the kind of thing that my dad, when he married my mom and started trying to bond with his new stepson, would tell me all the stories about these guys in the 50s, because again, he knew Johnny Bright and Rolly Miles also lived in our neighborhood and everything else, and talked about him and Jackie Parker and Normie Kwong and Ted Tully and then the dark years of the 60s and everything else. So I was always keenly interested in those. But what made it extra fun was another person on that committee was Brian Hall, and whenever I would go through my picks, he would have a story for everybody. Oh my God, let me tell you a story about whoever, So as a tribute to that, because we noticed that in the 50s, one person you'll see there on the offensive line at offensive tackle, whatever happened to Earl Edwards? So there was a bit of a smile from Halsey when we said that, and he's like, oh, it's just going to start all over again, because that was the question every time people called in to his radio show in the early 1970s, whatever happened to Earl Edwards. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, Mike Volkin, Larry Fleischer, Don Stevenson, Mike Kamek, and Earl Edwards are the offensive linemen. Some really solid names in there. Stevenson played for many, many years at center. Fleischer and Kamek, another good Canadian guys. Volkin was another Canadian, and then Earl Edwards is the American, who has switched from defensive tackle to offensive tackle, much like we did with Patrick Kabongo. So he ended up going to the NFL. I believe it was the San Francisco 49ers to start for the 1969 season. Sorry. That's what sort of precipitated the whatever happened to stories, because we traded to the NFL, which was kind of different. So on the receiving side of things, you couldn't not have Tommy Joe Coffey. Yes. He is on the Wall of Honor in the Hall of Fame for a reason. Starting in 1962, when he had came back after trying to seek his fortune the year before, he all of a sudden became the most outstanding player nominee for the team year after year. Led the team in points. He was not only a receiver, he was also a field goal kicker, kickoff guy, and unfortunately got traded to the Hamilton Tiger Cats, where he continued his Hall of Fame career. But again, he was one of those guys that if he wasn't on there at split end, which is what SE stands for on there, that would have been a little raising of an eyebrow. Jim Letkovitz was more of a tight end, but also played some split end. So split end is what we call a wide receiver now. Before end just meant tight end. You never called them tight ends because everyone was a tight end. And when they started splitting off from the line, that's when he got the difference. And then Randy Kerbo at flanker, who was also a backup quarterback and started several games at quarterback. I've talked to several people who were big fans in the 60s, and Randy Kerbo was their favorite player, certainly from that era. So it was great to get him in there. John Getty at quarterback. You couldn't have the same person from the 50s at quarterback as the 60s. So obviously Jack Parker. So if you looked at all the yardage thrown and completions and touchdowns, Getty was actually number 2 behind Jack Parker for the decade of the 60s. So he was kind of a no-brainer there. I'll skip over and go to Butch Presley and Mike LeChuck at running back and fullback. Presley ended up going to Winnipeg. I think he was a Winnipeg boy, and scored lots of touchdowns for us. And then Jim Thomas. You can't not have Long Gone Thomas. I've been asking for him to go up on the Wall of Honor for many years now. There's his picture on the graphic that they're looking at. Etc. Peter Kemp, Bobby Walden, Jim Thomas again, and Dick Dupuis will come later on special teams. Bobby Walden, another personal favorite because he ended up going to the Pittsburgh Steelers as a punter.
Oh, of course.
And made their all 75th team as well at punter.
Oh, wow.
So
cool.
On defense, that was the strength of the 60s team. You had E.A. Sims and Ron Forwick on defensive end. I know there's at least one person in the chat that Ron Forwick is another personal favorite. A local guy, played 10 years for the team and never got on the Wall of Honor, but there should be a wall that's dedicated to guys like him, guys like Ted Tully, guys like Don Warrington that just came every day in, day out, and gave it 100%. John LeGrone, Wall of Honor, should be in the Hall of Fame. Another of my pet projects. And Greg Pipes is another guy, a defensive tackle that probably should be a little more famous in this town. Outstanding guy. The rest of the defense, again, some really strong names in there. Al Equier at middle linebacker. Jerry Griffin was a middle and outside linebacker. And Howie Shum, the only person who played all 10 decades of the 60s. So he kind of had to be there.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah. Jack Rabbit, Joe Hernandez, and Mike Lowe at corner. Dick Dupuis and Bain Norrie. I think Bain played 14 different positions on the team.
Wow.
He played flanker, he played halfback, he played fullback, he played linebacker, he played all over. But he played, some of his most success was probably at halfback, and then John Wydreny at safety. So we didn't get a lot of wins in that decade, but we had a lot of outstanding players, and every one of these guys contributed to bringing people week after week, year after year into the Clark Stadium and cheering on the green and gold.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for going. I love when you can bring these stories and everything together for these decade teams. So thanks for doing that, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, and the person I sort of knew would like Ron Forwick is definitely in there. So in the chat.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I have a feeling I know who that is. All right. So let's take a couple of fan questions here during the pod, and then we'll get to more during overtime. What do we got in there that we can tackle before we get into our second half of the home and home setup and all those fun things? For sure.
So we have somebody returning to cheering that has been away for a while.
Okay.
G. Edward Grudzina. Hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yeah.
I left before the season, but I had to for my own mental health. I love you all, but I couldn't bear under Chris Jones. I hope you'll forgive my departure and we can heal together. The Amerifan.
Oh, well, all right. Well, we are very happy to have you back in the fold.
Absolutely. I've noticed the posting again on Twitter as well. It's been great to see you for sure. So
yeah, and I get it. This whole thing, I mean, here, Mike, you and I can attest to sitting here every week and trying to find a positive to talk about, and it's hard. But you know, you're always welcome back. Always welcome back.
100%. Leanne's got a question. She asked, Beatty's botched squid kick. Did someone call that player to make that really crappy decision on his own? Also, smiling after, grr.
Yeah.
Ken says, it was called. Boris just executed extremely poorly. However, that has been corrected. Our own favorite mofo, Shabazz Dillon, says it was not a called squib. CJ talks about it in post-game interview as well. So it was not supposed to be a squib kick like this. A common kick this sort of thing, if you're trying to limit a return, is to sort of kick it to one of the up backs. People that are not used to handling the ball very often, they'll instinctively, if the ball is coming towards them, just try and grab it or at least touch it. And then at that point, it's a live ball. That is not what happened in this case. So,
well, and I think the other part of that is that, yeah, Chris Jones did say after the game, they told him to go out there and hammer it, put it deep.
right.
And he overpowered it, and that's what had it go the wrong way. And so yeah, no, it wasn't. I know lots of people are saying that it was a squib, but I think as a squib, you're kind of trying to run out the clock and bounce it off of somebody a little earlier, not right in the front row, but like you said, Mike, and one of the areas there. And I don't think that was the case. I think it was just go to pound it, and
he went to pound it and he topped the ball. And when that happens, you can't really control where it's going to go as much. And it unfortunately went to the wrong place. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about it, right? It's a 65-yard wide field. How on earth could that happen? Again, that was never his intention. It's just you hit it wrong at the wrong time. And that just seems to be so often what's happened this year is the wrong thing happens at the wrong time. Had this happened earlier in the game, we're probably fine. But when it happens,
correct. Yes.
So
yeah. All right. Do we have another one in there, or that good?
Yeah, we've got quite a bit of stuff in here. Chris Agar seeks for all of us. I'm excited to see how Nkemdiche works under Mondo. Yeah, me too.
Well, the other part of it is like Mondo has been around since training camp, so
yeah, he's been around, but now his voice is going to be a little louder now, I think.
Yeah, well, as loud as his voice gets, but yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. His stare is going to become a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And Murray is asking us who is available for head coach. I don't think that that's really something we're going to look at for the next,
not yet.
Certainly 3 or 4 months.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, because give the guys that just got there a chance to show what they can do. We all know that the ownership situation will probably play a role at some point or another. And although I was happy to hear that, they did, kind of get the okay or the sign off from each of the ownership groups saying that are available, not available. The group's still in contention to go ahead with this move. So I think we give, G-Roy and Jarius all the time we can, and we let them have their successes. And then once we start to look at, okay, what's happening with ownership and, is Rick still in that position? Does a different president, or does Rick want to bring in a different GM altogether? Like, those are all things that they'll deal with later on in the season. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like there's so many
he was
different
interim
things.
president until they get that position in place. Sort of an appropriate time for the question. Big Fan 2019 asks, was this Chris Jones firing part of the new ownership group? And if so, why haven't we found out about them? No, I don't think that the new ownership group made this call. I did sort of postulate on the 2 and out that, maybe they could have been driving it. There's a possibility that group is 100% selected and they're just waiting for that right time. But why haven't we found out about it? Why would we find out?
It's not the right time.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing that the focus is on the team and how this team is doing. And we've got enough going on, especially right now, that I don't think we need to know about the owner. The ownership will tell us when the ownership is ready to go. It's possible the ownership is not fully cemented yet. There was sort of a possibility that Rick cleared it with all the possible owners.
And that is what he said. Yeah. So,
that the owner groups, not the owners, not every individual person in the groups kind of thing. So it could be 2 or 3 or more groups that are still in the mix for this. And he talked to all of those people. So,
it's one of those things that we will probably never know, but the timing will come when the timing comes.
Yep. And just one more. I'm a little confused by this. Something from Chris. I believe Bane Nori holds a punt return record that can never be broken. I'm not sure what that record would be. Bane did some punting, but I believe, it wouldn't be a long punt return because I don't think he ever had a return over like 25 yards.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not entirely sure what that is. So maybe Chris can let us know what's going on.
Right. And then, yeah. Well, I'm going to believe that you would know what that is. So,
yeah. Either way, a big fan 2019 has spilled the beans on the ownership group.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That's right.
We're the new ownership group. Really?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd love to know where I came up with that money, but
we'll just go in the gold vault and chip off what you need, huh?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you right now, the mofo stays. He's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now. First thing on my docket. Yeah, stays there. Okay, let's get into our game preview. Elks are back at the Red Blacks, but this time in the nation's capital this Friday at 5 p.m. Oh my goodness. As we talk a little bit about what we're preparing for in this game, don't forget to put your Elks prop bet options into the chat. I tried to put prop bet and chat together somehow. I'm not sure.
Prop bet.
I'm terribly tired. So let's go. Just put your prop bet options in the chat.
It is.
There we go. I'll just have to say it properly. Properly. Yeah. What do you think, Mike? How does this team respond with Jarius as head coach?
I think it's already been sort of planned. Like that hay has been in the barn. They knew they were playing these teams back to back. So at this point, I think they had everything sort of planned. Here's what we're going to do. If we see this, then we're going to do that. So because they already had that plan, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of major changes, but I'm hopefully that they're going to look at the approach. They had a great run stop throughout that game.
They sure did.
Unfortunately, so did Ottawa. So hopefully we can improve on that, and they don't. Okay, so it's going to be just, it's going to be up to someone like Shivers to how do we stop those big plays? Because you get rid of those 6 plays for 220 yards, and all of a sudden it's like a 260-yard passing game. So
a reasonable game is what
that would be nice. Yeah,
wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. All right. Well, what are you watching in this game? What's your focus?
Well, I did watch a lot of so
Deep
much
breath.
Yeah. So every part of the game.
Correct.
I watched the defensive line in the last game. I think that's still going to be watching, especially now that we have Mondo in there. I don't know if Kim Diche is going to be back. He was on the one game. Yeah. If he is, that possibility of Kim Diche and Oakman would be pretty tantalizing to watch. But I'm going to sort of watch to see how MBT spreads that ball around. Is it going to be, again, some more of the same, or are we going to see a lot more Gino in the first half, that kind of thing? And then, just can we stop people from catching balls in the middle of the field?
Yeah, I think that's my big focus, the secondary. Can the secondary, turn around and make that so much less than what Ottawa got just a few days ago? Because I think that's the biggest struggle right now is those Elk explosions plays. So if we can stop those, it just makes a huge difference. And I know I keep saying this, and so I'm sorry that it sounds like a broken record, but when we score 30 points, we should win. That with the defense that we're supposed to have, if we score 30 points, it should be basically a guaranteed win. And we've already had 2 where we've scored 30 and been beat by 3. So I'm really going to be watching that secondary to see what they can do. I'm hoping that they find a way to slot Leon back in somewhere. The guy's got a motor and is one of the best open field tacklers I've seen in a while. So I would really like to see him covering some ground and hitting guys again. Purifoy's laying out some punishment as far as hits are concerned, but we got to make sure that they're not catching the ball first. Like, I don't want you popping them after they. Well, I mean, it's fine, hit them after they catch the ball, but I'd rather they don't catch the ball. So
I'd rather they weren't catching it, 30, 40 yards downfield.
Correct. Yes, exactly. And I hope it's because there's too much pressure on Drew Brown and he can't do anything. But that secondary is we had one sack last game from Nick Anderson, which the celebration was 100% awesome, by the way. It was very, very funny.
It's very Kwaku.
Yeah, very. But that was a coverage sack. So let's do that more. I'm okay with that.
Get that pressure in the front.
Yes.
More pressure from the front makes your secondary look better. More coverage by your secondary makes your defensive line or your front seven look better. So,
yep. Yeah, and that's where my focus is going to be this week. That is for sure. So let's do some pick'ems here, Mike. We have by the way, you're picking the prop bet tonight, just so that you know. Got it. Our records right now, I am sitting in the lead at 17-7. Commissioner has moved up to 16-8, and
I did not have a good week.
15-9. So
not a great week.
Nope, 2-2. 2-2. So we've got some fun games this week.
Still early.
All right. So Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan is the second half of the Friday night doubleheader after replay. Mm-hmm. Who do you have in that game?
This one is interesting. I mean, I'm seeing Winnipeg turning things around, and I'm not sure how long Saskatchewan can sort of hold this out. I mean, obviously they lost the last game.
Yep.
So sad.
You really
got to catch somebody. We got to catch
really
somebody. So
yeah.
I'm just adding a few more of the prop bets into the saved funk folder.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just stalling at this point because I haven't really made up my mind. Because I can see a case for it to go either way.
I do too. This is a 50-50 game in my opinion.
I am basically leaning towards Saskatchewan only because it's at home.
Okay. I was thinking much the same thing, but I just feel like Winnipeg, when they turn a corner, they start to they just have kind of more weapons, and Wilson was unbelievable in that last game.
He sure was.
So you see Zach starting to get back with
Pokey.
That's correct. Pokey. I don't know what I was thinking. Pokey played amazingly. And I just think that loss of Jamarcus Hardrick is so huge for Saskatchewan.
Okay.
You're down Trevor Harris, who is your guy that can, get the ball out of there quickly. And now you're down a monster of a right tackle. So, I agree. It probably it's 50-50 going either way, but I am going to go with Winnipeg.
All right.
So we'll see how that goes. I got to see if Kayla sent me her picks or not. She didn't. Oh, well, I'll inform her picks later. Yeah, exactly.
We'll tell her what her picks were.
Yeah. We should just flip a coin, and whatever one it is, we could just pick.
Just ask Siri.
Like heads is the okay, we're totally doing this.
Heads for home and tails for away.
Heads for home. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So
flip a coin.
All right, we can do this. I just have to remember how to. Okay. Hey Siri.
Flip a coin.
She's not listening. Hey Siri, flip a coin. She's not listening. Siri's not angry with me. Hey Siri.
We have a coin.
Flip a coin.
Heads.
Okay, so
there we go. Saskatchewan
for Kayla. Perfect. Okay. I love how this is going to turn out.
Yeah.
Toronto versus Hamilton. This one is in the Hammer. Toronto coming off beating Montreal last week. And they keep rolling. I'm going to go with Toronto taking down Hamilton once again. What are you doing on that, Superfan?
I am also taking Toronto.
Right.
I just don't see it.
I just made Chris's phone flip a coin, which is awesome. Okay, fantastic. We'll see who Kayla's picking. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
Tiles.
Okay.
Toronto it is.
So Toronto it is right across the board. All right. Excellent. BC versus Calgary, the Sunday night game. This is gonna be funny when we have to pick for Caleb. Either way. What do you got, super fan?
Yeah, the Lions are just rolling and rolling and rolling.
Correct.
And plus, I just feel dirty picking Calgary. So
yeah. Way to bring in the 90s music, by the way. Yeah. Rolling.
yes.
I'm not even going to flip the coin for Kayla. I'm going to give her BC in this game.
Yeah.
So if I gave her Calgary, she might actually come to my house and kill me. And I don't want that to happen. So
let's not.
BC it is. All right. Let's find our prop bet for this week.
Absolutely. I think we've only got one person so far in the chat that has made their picks. That's Jessica Julian going for all four visiting
teams. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, the one for sure.
Yes, obviously the
Winnipeg, Toronto, BC,
in Ottawa.
Actually, that's all of them. Yeah, I picked this. Yeah, I picked the same way. Well
done.
Is
the Julian family going to be there in Ottawa? Hopefully.
Oh, I hope so. I hope that I hope she wears her. Oh my God, Becky! Look at that punch shirt.
Oh my God,
that was so funny.
Awesome.
That was outstanding. Yes, extra points. Yeah. Leanne going Winnipeg, Hamilton, BC, and Edmonton Elks. Lovely. I like that. And what about prop bet? Anybody?
Oh, just one more thing. Jessica
will be in Ottawa. Wonderful.
Outstanding. All right, let's look for the prop bets here.
Those TSN guys got to find the parents in the crowd, I think. I think that would be important, right?
Yeah.
Come on. We want to see our friends up on the screen.
Exactly. Chad Patrician, the soon-to-be groom.
Oh, how exciting.
There we go. Field goals in the final second, plus or minus one.
Does it count if we kick it? He just said field goals. He didn't say field goals against us. He just said field goals. So does it count if we kick it? I need to know that.
We do have a few other prop bets in there, including a couple from Chad. We'll get to them in a bit. Okay. So we're going to start with Ken.
Is it dinosaurs doing flips on the field? Because that would be
only.
Okay. Ken saying Mayala yards receiving. Oof, that's a good one.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. All right.
Chad is a couple here. We have field goals over 40 yards, both teams combined.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Don't mind
or number of defensive plays over 30 yards given up. Explosion plays.
Explosions. Yeah, number of explosions. Oh, that's actually tempting just because of that. But yeah, okay.
Chris says EED lineman sacks.
Oh.
Now we got Mondo in here. Are we gonna see some pressure? Are we gonna see some sacks?
Oh, interesting. All right.
And last but never least, from Leanne, which unit has more penalties, offense or defense? I like that.
Oh my!
I like that.
Now, this last.
Are we talking number of penalties or yards? That's the question.
Oh, I'd have to say number of penalties.
I would think so,
because yards would be really hard to track. But I mean,
I guess not that hard to track. It's
well, except for the fact that we didn't put special teams in there because they've done their fair share of those as well. I guess then, this last game though, they only had 68 yards. I mean, with what is it like? 15 of those coming in that last 8 seconds.
Oh, and one more just under the wire.
Oh, just under the wire. Okay.
From our Amera fan.
Oh,
Kevin Brown, number of carries.
Oh, he's just speaking to your heart, super fan.
Isn't he?
Yeah, it's like he knows you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you want to go with? What prop bet do you want?
I want Kevin Brown, number of yards. Come on. I gotta be me.
Of course you do. It was number of yards, not number of carries, or was it number of carries?
Number of carries.
Number of carries. Okay. As of the last bit, he has carried, I believe, 7 times, and then 9 times was the one.
And 8 in the last game.
Right. So
Average of 8 of that, right?
I was gonna say. So I'm gonna, but a different line of going against the same team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna run.
Kevin Brown, not anyone else. Not Leak,
That's right.
not...
Just not Leak. Yeah. Okay. So Kevin Brown carries. I am going to set the line at 8.5 yards. 8.5 carries.
There we go. 8.5 yards, way over.
8.5 yards, way over. Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, should be. 8.5 carries. What do you got, super fan?
I am going over.
Okay.
I think, yeah. I had in my head he was going to have about 12.
Oh my.
A great number for what I would like to see.
Right.
But I think that they're going to try and shake it up a bit. And they're going to give him a few more carries because I think we are going to have a lead late. And that's going to help a lot get some of those extra carries.
Look at the optimism. Oh my goodness. That was amazing.
And we have
amazing optimism.
Corey Laporte says 12 carries. So that's over.
Oh, isn't that what you said?
Jessica Julian says over.
Okay.
Our friend Jerry says over.
Over. Okay.
So what do you say?
I say under. He gets 8.
And Leanne says you're wrong.
And the rest goes to, well, I might as well continue to be wrong. I mean, why would I start to be right now?
There you go. Big Fan 2019 says under. So you got company now.
There you go. They found a few spots where where McLeod could start breaking through. If he does that, they're going to start passing. And I think that they're going to split those attempts again, still between Javon and KB. And so I'll say Brown gets KB gets 8 carries for runs, and then he gets 2 or 3 like passes.
Oh, he'll definitely get some passes. Yeah, he'll be that.
Right.
Sort of
I'm only talking about carries.
valve. Yep.
That's
carries.
That's different.
Not touches.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So I will go under, and I will check with Kayla as to what she would like to have for that particular one. I'll check on her other ones too, but I love the fact that we just
you could do over
fun.
under. Heads or tails over under.
Oh wait. Okay, which one is over? Heads. Okay. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
It's heads this time.
Over.
Okay, she's going over. Perfect.
She's smart.
Love it. Yep. Yeah, she is smart. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Canadian Podcast Fantasy League for just one moment. I lost to Daltz of Rouge Radio, not by very much, but I did lose. So I go to 5-1. Kamish loses to Trey by a very small margin. I believe he was in first and she was in third or something. It was like 4 or 5 points separating them. So she goes to 3-3. This week I get Ryan Coop from the Canadian Football Countdown.
I'll pick for you.
Oh, I would love it. Actually, I should just tell him that. Mike's picking for me. Yeah, he'll love that.
Eater.
Yeah, exactly. Kamish gets the Argos Fancast crew. Make sure you're checking out all those great podcasts, part of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. And we're having fun in that fantasy league. So join in all the fun. Super fan, let's do a quick shout out to our friends at Pay It Forward with Football.
Yes,
not wrong one. There we go. Pay It Forward with Football, and who are continuing to spread kindness through the game of football. Make sure that you follow them and join in any of their things to try and help spread kindness, because we need more of that. Follow our sister at Duchess Lombardi on Twitter. Superfan, where does everybody find you?
You can find me at 56 Parkies on most, if not all, social medias. And brain fart there. The Edmonton Football History will have all your Horde and History segments at EDMHISTOREE. Yes,
perfect. Okay. I just thought that was funny at that particular moment. Okay. You follow me at Freepalicious, or the show at the Turf District on all of your different social channels. And of course, go check out the stores, azzle.ca/store/turf_district_shop to grab your latest Turf District merch. It's very exciting, and we're trying to add some more things as we go here. So join in the fun, grab some merch, and be part of our group. Also, if you are on YouTube, stick around for overtime. We will take more of your questions and comments and talk a little bit more about all of the moves from this week. Otherwise, we will be back next week to recap the Ottawa game and set up the Hamilton home game. Be interesting to see what happens after this one, and so we will have more fun to talk about, and I'm working on a guest for us to chat with as well. So for Commissioner K and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.
Don't go anywhere. It's overtime.
And we are back for OT, overtime.
Yes, we are.
All the fun and games. Throw your questions in the chat for us, and we will get to them as long as Mike can stay awake, or me.
Because
It's
a tough one.
we've had a very busy, like, what are you, 72 hours? It's just
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
been pretty crazy.
Yeah,
My phone has been blowing up.
You don't say.
Yeah, go figure.
Oh, I figure we're gonna leave the music on in the background. Can you hear it? It's lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now it's loud.
All right, there we go. Turn that off. It's fun for overtime to have the music for a short while. Okay. Triple OT, says Leanne. Yeah, triple OT.
Jessica reminds us it's midnight here. Come on now.
All right.
All right. Let's get to those questions.
Let's get to those fun and games, the questions and the comments and the chats.
Exactly. Mike doesn't sleep, he just recharges. That is so incorrect. Clearly, you did not stop drinking after the weekend. Somebody needs another hand grenade shot. I think that's it.
Oh, that's what it was. I don't know. I can tell you that he does sleep.
Wow. I was going to stick around for OT, but decided to leave with 8 seconds left, says the Amerifan. That is outstanding. Points for you, sir.
That was well done. That was very well done. Yeah.
I'm going to sort of work my way up from the most recent to the older ones. So just recited something different. Corey Laporte wants to know, is there a reason the Turf District doesn't sell Slim Fit merch? Hello.
There are Slim Fits on there. Are
there?
I wouldn't
know.
It off. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you talking about? No, no. There's the women's options are definitely slimmer for sure. So you're more than welcome. I know we've had suggestions to put on the the leggings, of course, but those, Paul Reckner, we're going to get him
the leggings already planned.
That's right. So we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, that's it'll happen. Yeah,
can't wait.
Asking for a friend. I was going to say it's definitely not asking for yourself or me. So
yeah, not me.
He's asking for Josh Semchuk.
Right. So Jessica, we got to get her questions because she's got to go to bed.
We do. Yeah, she has to go to bed. Yeah.
Random question. Do we think our team is playing to the level of their opponents? Considering we've lost by one score in every single game?
Yes. I would. This is a tough one because they're playing to the level of their opponents. They are actually, for a majority of the game, probably playing a smidge ahead of their opponents, and
Right.
then there
The
are
fourth
those
quarter's
six.
not our friend.
No, not at all. Although, again, in this game, we score the touchdowns. We build up. We think we're going to get there, and then 8 seconds, as the Marifan just tells us. So, yeah, I don't know if it's that or if it's just like we've put together some really good games, but the time that we've put the really good games together, the other team has put together a better game. And the times that we've put kind of a game together, the other team just has been just that smidge better. So I don't know if it's playing to the level of their opponents as much as our opponents are finding the cracks when they need to. Right. So, but I can see where the question comes from, being that, what was it? Was it 30? Was it the same score? 37-30? No, it was 34-31 against Toronto.
Yeah.
Again, 37-34. BC was 24-21. Like,
yeah. Again, playing to this. She just wanted to know because or did Ottawa have a great game? Maybe a bit of both. I mean, Ottawa when you're putting up 480 yards passing, you had a great game.
They had a good game. Yeah. I'd say they did all right. Bastards. Great game, prick. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, that's how that goes. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to see them put it all together. Play well all the way through. Full 60 minutes. Nice. That's what Commissioner would have said. Full 60 minutes. Not
even 55 at this point.
50. Well, no, because 59 minutes and 52 seconds wasn't enough.
A great game for 59 seconds would mean the last 8 don't count.
All right, fine.
Just saying.
Fine. You can have it.
We got a couple of questions here. So, our Marifan asks, I'm going to be really positive going to this new stage, but do you think Shivers is on a hot seat with the D's troubles and his ties to Jones?
I don't know. I don't know that the ties to Jones really make a big difference in this particular scenario, but I do think that the D is struggling, and he has been the main play caller. So does it change now that Jones doesn't have an influence? Because you'd have to think Jones still had an influence even as the head coach. I think you would even said that before, Mike.
Yeah.
So does it change now that he just gets the reins and gets to do what he wants? But I don't know. I look at the last 7 games in Saskatchewan for last year and the last 7 games the year before, and then I watch what's going on right now. Does it mean that we're going to get better after Labor Day here? He just reversed it, and maybe that'll be the difference.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to see. The thing is, the ties to coaches only sort of matters when you're getting hired more than anything else. At the end of the season, we don't know who our president is going to be, our GM is going to be, our head coach is going to be. So it doesn't we could see none of these coaches here next year. True. Or we could have such a great turnaround that they're like, no, let's give, an extension to our general manager, our head coach, and let them go from there. And then at that point, does he stick with Shivers or does he go with somebody different? Because again, he doesn't have necessarily those ties. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Kyle is asking, has there ever been a Hard Knocks or quarterback/receiver Netflix style show done in the CFL? There certainly has been a show done on the team. There was the Hail Mary show from, what was that, 2012?
Yeah, I think so.
2009, 2012. It's right around there. Simone Lawrence was on the show. So that's got to be around that time. And I thought it was great. I quite really enjoyed that show. So I'd love to see more of them, but it's very disruptive having someone with a camera crew in here filming things. And if they don't get something right, they want things repeated. That doesn't really do well for a lot of coaches. So would it be useful to bring some money in? Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Of course, Leanne was a fan. Shamad and Simone were on the Hail Mary show. It was so good. It really was. I really enjoyed this show. I thought it was great because it did show a lot of stuff behind the curtain.
It did, yeah, and it kind of took those guys that are just coming into training camp and trying to learn, right? So I thought that was kind of a cool aspect for sure.
Yeah, don't sign an apartment lease until you know you made the team. Simone signs it anyway.
He knew. Yeah,
exactly.
He was going to get there.
Yeah. Corey Laporte again asking, do we know why the D-line coach resigned? Yeah, it was personal reasons. I don't really know that we need to go any further than that.
Correct.
It was nothing to do with Chris Jones being let go. It was just strictly for his own personal reasons back home. And so that's why he had to leave. So the timing just happened to be coincidental with what happened with Chris Jones. So
I think that happens whether Chris Jones is here or not.
Right. I mean,
yeah,
he can't sort of play in that sort of thing. So
correct.
What else we got here? Great reminder from Big Fan 2019. July 28th is Indigenous Night for our next
home game. For the Hamilton game. Yes.
Yeah.
We will talk about that in the preview when we do that next week for sure.
Yep, absolutely. But it never hurts to remind for sure.
And a very exciting tailgate once again.
Exactly. Apparently, Leanne's husband James is quite drunk. Says that James would make a good head coach.
He thinks that Mike would make a good head coach. Yeah.
Amerifan says Mike would be a good coach, but I think he'd do even better as GM. He gets talent evaluation and unit function much better than most non-professionals. I'd feel confident in roster Mike put together. I wouldn't.
I would love it because the GM would be on our show every week.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And Corey happens to say, while we're doing that, the freak for president.
I only want it if they'll put that name on my cards. That's right. Yeah.
POE, president of Elks.
Poe. That's right.
Oh, Darman.
Yeah. That would be that'd be fun. Well, I won't. Sure. Yeah. Whatever. I see he is not drunk. Oh, it's just Leanne is okay. That's good. Not drunk. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good.
Posting under the influence.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, no, I there are much more qualified people than us.
Than either of us.
I do appreciate I appreciate the vote of confidence, but I would need to learn a lot more than what I know now.
Exactly. All running backs. That's the problem with me being a coach is I would just have like a wishbone every single play, and then we'd go 18-0. So
I was going to say because you would never know where it was going.
Right.
I mean,
it's all up misdirection.
Sign Strevler to be that quarterback to run nothing but the wishbone all the time.
That's right. Single wing, baby. Ken is super excited for our newest player, Schaubert Okdiche. So that should be good. I want to see that jersey.
Schaubert Okdiche.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I would
now. A little 90 and
I would like to see the two of them in there at the same time. That'd be amazing.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. But I don't think Robert's playing this week. He still did not play today on the injured list, and there's no time. So I'm gonna guess that he's out this week, but hopefully returning against Hamilton. The Hamilton game ends in a tie, by the way, right? Like that's got to be what's going on right now.
I think so.
Like, okay, good, perfect.
Seems fair.
That'll be the prop bet for next week.
Toilet bowl.
Does the game end in a tie or not?
The toilet bowl. Yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah.
So Leanne wants to know about my balls. There we go. On the wall
Turf
behind
District
me.
After Dark. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Are they white
Yeah.
or silver? So if we're looking somewhere around in here somewhere, these ones are silver and the ones above are white. So the I actually happen to have something right here. Typical silver signing ball.
Yes.
So yeah, these are what they
Lovely.
actually handed out to us at the tailgate. And then the older ones, and actually the most recent ones, so 2023 and 2022 to 2023, were also white. They've gone back to white balls.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess if I move out of the way, you can sort of see at the very bottom.
Yeah, the silver's at the bottom, and then
there's a white.
in the middle.
There's also a white at the bottom, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
So they've gone back to that.
Who would have known we were talking about white and silver balls on the show? Yeah.
There we go. Are they collector's items or game used? So they're not game used. They are specifically made to be signed.
Yes.
So they're sort of for collectors. What else we got here? Chris is following up on the Bane Nori comment. I worked at a bar he frequented, and he told me about the league having a rule about no blocking on punt returns in his era of returning, which of course no longer exists. Yeah, there was no returning at all until the early 70s.
Yeah.
Sorry, no blocking on returning until the early 70s. I know that you and I watched a game from the early 60s. I think it was the 61 Labor Day game.
Yeah, it was so funny. Yeah.
And it was just very weird to see. Basically, you could sort of get in the way, but you could not block. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Bane's
so
stats.
Basically what we do now.
Right. So yeah, Bane's stats, I'm just looking at them now, and his longest punt return was 22 yards. Now I understand that's 22 yards with no blocking, but there were people that were getting touchdowns even in that era. So
really,
it did happen.
Even with wow. Was that like the pre-version of Gizmo or what? Like, holy cow.
Prismo? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh my. Yes.
Amerifan wants to know any other significant news on the injury report. Ken does say that Foucault did not practice today either. Listed as a foot. I rewatched the game and he played until the very end. So it's something that maybe happened that kind of worsened over time, or maybe he planted it when he tossed that guy. So
it's got to be something like that because I'm just trying to think what else was on here. Broderick's still out. Daggy was limited. Foucault was out today. Zach Mathis was full, but he was a healthy scratch, so that's good. But yeah, Kemdiche did not play today. Jamin was limited. Jake Taylor was limited, and Shane Richards was full. So,
one more game. So
yeah, exactly. So those guys still have one more game before they can come back off the 6 game. So, but it's getting closer. So
yeah. Corey says feet don't hurt till the cleats come off.
There you go. So that's got to be it. And so I guess Grahovic was taking that spot at practice today.
Yep, absolutely. So,
which might mean that Shane Richards then draws in as a 6th guy, possibly.
I'd have to think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Jessica, woman after my own heart. Does the CFL still have player trading cards? Yes, they do. The Upper Deck company, there we go. Ta-da. Still puts those out every year.
Those are the 23 ones, by the way.
The 2023 are the most recent cards. The 2024 ones will be coming out, I heard, in September.
Oh, cool.
Which will be great. Up until last year, they were having, 13, 14, 15 different players per team getting their own cards. Plus, of course, there's autograph cards. There's what they call parallels. So similar kind of card to the base card. Stay awake.
Okay. I'm listening.
Similar kind of cards, but maybe a different color or whatever. And then game used cards, which means they've got a piece of jersey embedded into the card. So very exciting. We will see maybe next week or whatever. I'll pull some of the older cards out and we'll show some of the older ones versus the new ones and kind of see how cards have changed over the years.
Maybe when you do that next week, I'll do a opening because this is still a sealed box.
I have several sealed
2023.
boxes. Granted, they're going back to like the 90s and 2000s, but yeah.
I
figured in the
I do
off-season.
enjoy the one on who's on the front.
Absolutely. I figured in the
Yeah,
off season we'd do a break, a live break.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, okay.
So maybe save it for that. So that'd be kind of
perfect.
fun.
I'll do that.
So all right.
But,
what else?
I mean, Jake needs a card.
Jake needs a card. More
That's right.
specifically, I need a Jake card.
As do I. And I want it to say Jake Julian Faithful's holder. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Field goal holder. That's solely for Dean Faithful. You're welcome, Dean. That was a good joke. So
yeah, absolutely. So at one point, Chris had talked about he was the grandson of a rugby player. And I apologize, I've sort of lost that. But Jessica posted, we loved watching and cheering for Greg when he played rugby. Didn't fully understand the game and may have cheered at the wrong times, but always fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very cool.
That would be very cool. Certainly explains a lot. There's a lot of kicking there. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's also a lot of, getting in the way of guys. So, he had one of the special teams tackles on the weekend.
He did.
So, yeah. So that was.
And so did Beatty.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. I mean, I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did. And I'm very happy for them, but it shouldn't have to get to them. But yes.
Yeah. Apparently, I'm guessing the trading card thing was a joke at Jake's wedding.
Oh, no, I'm guessing the holder, the field goal holder. Yeah,
nice.
Exactly. Which is awesome.
That makes more sense.
Yes. Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right, what else we got here? Is that how Foucault got injured by chucking that guy? I don't know that that's how it happened.
A penalty and an injury at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
well, maybe that guy landed on his foot, and so then he threw him after that. I mean, possible.
It's true.
Right? It's true. Yeah. I knew I lost you for a moment there.
Yeah.
Like, where did Mike go?
Where'd he go? He's gone. Nice.
Okay. Yeah. Good night, Mike. Yep. Thanks for coming. Yep.
All right. So what else we got here?
Well, I'm sure that it started. I'm sure that there is some stuff from the top that is related to.
I'm just going back to the top.
Oh,
here.
did you go back to the top? Okay.
Well, let's go back. We're going to start with Amerifan as a post. Doesn't it make sense to do it now? I'm guessing this is relieving Chris Jones of his duties since they face the same team next week. Game plan hasn't changed much, so it's a safe game to break in the new coach.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way actually, but that's not. And then they have another long break after.
Right.
Because it's a 10. No.
Well, it's the 28th, right? It's from Friday, which is the
19th.
19th. So the 19th until the 28th.
Yeah. So there's a good break coming there to do the next planning too. So that's good.
Yep. I guess we'll see.
Boy, do I want to go to practice that week. Oh,
I wanted to go today so bad.
Oh, so did I? Yeah, so did I. Yeah, just be there and yeah.
Here's a nice little a series of points. Ken says it will be a few years before Chris Jones gets back to the CFL, and it will likely be as a positional coach. Leanne says, I'm not sure if the new owners would want him back as a consultant, though. Ken says, I want to know what Marvel universe does Chris Jones ever come back to Edmonton? Leanne replies, it won't be Marvel, it will be DC.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. I mean, if you put the mechanic thing on his back with the 8 arms, he totally looked like Doc Ock, right? He could have the glasses still. Like, it would be great. Yeah. You can just relate all of the coaches to different Marvel and DC characters. I feel like that's a Josh Smith article waiting to happen, but I didn't.
There you go.
Yeah, very true.
What else have we got here? So close with the spit take. So
yeah. Oh, you almost got me. It was very, very close. I had to really buckle down in that moment. So that was pretty good. Yeah.
I'm not sure what part of this Tim is talking about, but this could be very appropriate. with all the close losses, 50 ways to lose your lovers.
Well, I mean, they have found 3 distinct different ways to lose by a walk-off field goal in all 3 games.
I don't want to know if there's more.
No, I don't want to know if there's more either. But I need to bring this out for a second. If you want to know all 3 different ways, check out my article on 3 Down Nation that explains how they lost by a walk-off field goal in a different way all 3 times. Each of them being a focal point of a different phase of the football to make
There
it
you
happen.
go.
There
Does
you
one
go.
of them step out the back, Jack? Make a new plan, Stan?
Yeah,
No. Just checking.
it's not one of
Somebody
those,
will get
but
those, but that's it.
that was a good joke.
There we go.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
A little nod of the cap to Mr. Simon.
correct. Yes, because he's a friendly guy too.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Ken says, it's interesting. I've not heard much discussion about how atrocious the 3-man rush has been this year. I've heard a lot of it.
So have I.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of it. Yeah. But I don't even mind the 3-man rush if they were bringing somebody from different points, but it just doesn't seem to be happening.
And
Right?
it's not only
Like-
that, but you're dropping 9 in that case, and you're still having these big plays.
Still 30+ yard plays. Yeah.
Yes, as Chris says, well done. I was thinking Elk explosion is a good term for a great play. Good call, Freep.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Yep. Yep.
So-
It does seem to be that's the case. So I don't want it to be. I want it to be an explosion play as an exception to the rule. Is what I would like to have.
Yes.
Mhm.
I'd like to see these broken up and, forcing the punt the ball. That would be
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Yes.
Again, don't get me wrong. We love us some Jake Julian, but I'd rather see him as a holder and then a punter.
That's right. Very true.
Just saying.
I think he would prefer it too. As
Oh,
much
yeah,
as he likes kicking
absolutely.
the ball, he would prefer that too. Yes.
Yeah, it means we're getting, extra points and field goals. So we'll
That's
take
right.
it.
We'll take it.
I think Jessica says what we are all feeling. This game hurt my soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really, really did.
I went down to get towards to go down for the media room. I went down with, I want to say there was a minute and a half or whatever left. It
Right.
was before they had that last drive for the touchdown.
Yeah.
And I was sitting down in the front row, and the security woman knows me quite well now. So
By
she
now,
comes over and she's like, "You can just come over." So I'm standing down on the turf. I watched them get the touchdown, and okay, that's good. Okay, well, I mean, maybe there's a chance to go into overtime, but I think it was Paul or you that said, do we really want to go to overtime and just let the defense back on the field, or should we just go for 2? Which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah. As it turns out, going for
At
2
this
didn't make a
point-
difference.
But at this point, you've lost 2 games by a walk-off field goal, and what do you have to lose to go by going for 2?
Quite a lot.
Like,
Can you imagine if you miss it, how angry the crowd would have been?
I can. Are they any less angry at the fact that then they threw away they threw up the ball up the middle and got the walk-off field goal again? Like, I just don't.
Yeah, I think
I don't-
it's
And you don't know that's going to happen, but the defense had been so struggling all night.
Yep.
There is an argument at least to be made that they had a successful 2-point conversion before.
had we been 2 and 3 at this point, I'd been like, yeah, go for it. But at 0 and 5, you just need to get like another chance for your team. Because again, your offense had just scored like 10 points, right? So the offense
Right.
likely could score a touchdown, and then they have to go for a 2-point anyway. So
Right. Yeah. Anyway, as just another thing that we were talking about. Well, so
Corey wants to know if security knows you will because of the restraining order.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Checks out.
Thanks.
So Leanne's got a question. Who is responsible for clock management, the play callers or the players? It's kind of a combination.
I was going to say I think it's both, but you have to let the person
No.
But it's on the coach to say, okay, I want you to run the clock down as much as possible and then do this. Or
if you're going to do something different, like they should instinctively know at this point, like this will tie the game if we get a touchdown in the convert. So leave as little time as possible, unless the coach tells you, no, we want you to leave some time on the clock for X, or just we need you to leave time on the clock. Yeah. So I think in this case, it might have been on Prukop for not running the clock down.
Maybe. Yeah. And we don't know, or we don't know if it was specifically said to him, like, make sure that there's basically no time left. Right. So, yeah.
Right, says we're using the term responsible pretty loosely, aren't we? Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jerry has the answer to Bane Norrie's question.
Okay.
His wiki says he holds the Edmonton record during the non-blocking with 299 total returns.
Oh, punt return. Okay. So that makes sense, especially with the non-blocking, because when we were watching that game and they did the kickoff and everybody basically stood around, like, I look at Mike like, what the hell? Like, do something. Yeah. He's like, oh, you weren't allowed to block. I'm like, pardon?
Yeah, no blocking back in the day.
Oh, that's it's really funny to watch because all the guys are running down the field and half the other guys are just kind of like, they just look like pylons. It's funny.
Yeah. Interesting. I know that Rolly Miles certainly had a lot, but I don't think he had close to 300 or certainly less than that. So,
okay, cool.
Interesting. That's good to know.
Hey, something you didn't know. That's wild. I'm
well, we could write a book on all the things I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Not about the team. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many things. Yeah. I can look. I know where to look it up, but I don't necessarily know it.
Fair enough.
So Marifan says releasing D-line coach Maxey was another one of Jones' moves that didn't make sense to me. Big drop off from the last few years under Maxey. Certainly Maxey was well loved by his players, the defensive lines, but I mean, him going happened to coincide with us losing AC Leonard and Jake Seresna. I think that might have contributed a lot more. I mean, how many sacks did those two have combined?
22, I believe.
Yeah. So that's 22 sacks you've lost. And I mean, I am a big fan of what Curly Gittins has brought, but considering how well we've got out of Hergy Mayala, Gavin Cobb, and possibly with Zach Morris coming in. Zach Morris. Try that again. Yeah, Jack. Different show. Zach Mathis, showing my age there. I don't know if he was necessarily needed as much as maybe someone like a caliber like Jake Seresna. I mean, this is of course hindsight now, but
of course, but it also is, well, now Seresna's out. I do think it was more than just that, though. I thought they wanted to be able to bring in that connection for MBT, right? The connection that he knows that, made Curly or helped make Curly 1,000-yard receiver, right? So I think there's some merit there, but I agree that Maxey going was definitely difficult.
Yep. Ken says, I do not see Gittins and Lewis here next year. I just don't. Entirely possible.
Yeah. I think that's going to really depend on how these next 13 games go.
Yep, 100%. I mean, right now,
Gittins, I thought had 2 years though. I thought Gittins still had 2 years left, so he's supposed to be here next year.
Yeah, I think it was this year and next year, right? Because
that's what I thought.
Year. Whereas Lewis signed a 2-year deal, and this is his second year.
Right.
So I think that I could see Lewis going just because he's being paid so much money. They may want to allocate those funds somewhere else.
Right.
Or they might, he might be willing to pay for less, or maybe they do feel it's worth it. Again, if all of a sudden he is at 1,500 yards over the season because he has such a strong last 13, then
great. Yeah, great for us, great for him. I'm all in.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see.
Find ice cream all around. Yeah, okay.
All around.
Yeah.
Ken says MBT only had 85 yards passing in the first half. First half was pretty tough. 100%. Barely Cornelius-like numbers. I wouldn't say that. I mean, Mike Riley had a game where he had 60 yards passing in the total game against,
and they won. But the other part is that we were up. We were up
Yeah.
14-6. Like we were, and
We were up
marked it.
15-3 at one point.
And then the fumble happened, right?
Yeah.
Like I think I didn't. I mean, I understand that he had low passing yards, but they were trying to get the running game going in that first half too, and had a couple of good successes, but then didn't.
Yep.
But I did think that he had kind of come on, but I think that, like you said, Mike, that fumble kind of took the air out of the sails.
Yep. We'll see. Interesting. I had not heard this. Ken says Dave Campbell was telling me last week the team asked Lewis to take a pay cut.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of hearsay. I don't know. Maybe.
It would be a kind of typical Chris Jones thing to do. We've heard about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fine for the big money and then ask for a pay cut. We've heard that before.
Sure. But I don't know that it would happen. And again, what are they offering as incentive? Like, are they going to give him a second year at lower so it averages? Or
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, no idea.
Now, a question that has been on everyone's lips, or certainly out. We've certainly discussed it anyway. Any chance they bring Grimes back?
Yeah, and that was I don't think as a player. I unless they're gonna bring him in as a player coach, but I don't know that I see him as. Well, the thing is that I don't know where he's at in his recovery to be able to come in and be able to play in a halfback spot when you've got younger guys, right? So he obviously knows the game a lot better, but I don't know where that is in his recovery.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I would love to see him as a player coach or a coach of some kind.
Absolutely. I mean, how many times have we seen in the Saskatchewan game seeing JC Sherrod on the sidelines? It's absolutely fantastic for JC, but very painful to look.
Yes.
What else we got here? Corey's got a question. Do we see some player changes on defense as well, or does the defensive coordinator try a different system with Jones gone? I don't think we're going to see a different system. Look at what Saskatchewan's defense looked like the last 2 years when Jones wasn't there.
Yeah, it's the same kind of defense.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing, we're seeing the Shivers defense, right? So,
do I think we'll see some player changes?
Sure,
possibly.
It's very rare on any team that you're not going to see a change in the defense over the next 15 games or 13 games.
Right. Yeah. But you also look and go, well, like Leon O'Neill goes from a starting position to practice roster. So is there a spot where they can actually fit that in properly? Is there something they just need him to learn a bit and then be able to be back in there? So could he go into a halfback spot? Could he go into and like you were saying when we got the depth chart, right? There was 9 linebackers or something for a total of 2 spots basically, and there was 7.
It was 7, 7, and 7.
Oh, okay.
There was 7 linebackers, I don't include the Sam spot as a linebacker spot. So just between the will and middle linebacker spot, there were 7 people. There were 7 defensive linemen, and including the Sam spot, there were 7 defensive backs.
Yeah, for 6 positions.
Correct.
Right. So maybe that needs to switch up a wee bit.
And it might, right? Again, that's just a very typical kind of like the player personnel. I'm guessing that as president of player personnel, that Jones would have an influence on that. So
yes, absolutely. So there could be some changes there.
Maybe they could ask somebody. You never know who makes these decisions. I'm guessing the head coach, but
they could ask him. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What else we got here? Let's see. From Ken. Practice was lower key than I'm used to seeing, but it looked like the team only had 1 day off. Right.
Oh, okay.
Which is they did.
They did. Yeah, they just had Monday. So
they had 1 day off. And there's probably a lot of emotion in the day before. I believe Jarius in his presser today said that Coach Jones called him and had some words for the team.
Mm-hmm.
So he shared those. And again, that's going to be a very emotional thing, right? It's like the coach is gone and we're moving into the new era of this team. So he was well liked by the players. So seeing him gone, they're going to be disappointed in that, especially if they feel responsible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other part of that too is that, like you said, they had one day off, so maybe they wanted to keep it a little lower tempo to, kind of preserve the bodies and stuff. They have to be ready to go for Friday. So, and they've got a travel day in there. So,
yeah, it's going to be something.
Oh, it's going to be something. All right.
Tomorrow will be, I think, maybe a better indicator. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, because that would really be the only heavy practice day they could do, because Thursday is going to be travel day and Friday will be games. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. You are
see
correct.
what we got here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, an interesting question, a little maybe less Elks related. Let's find out.
Okay.
Ian says, if Nathan Rourke returns, does BC still hold his rights? No, I believe his rights, he'd be a free agent if he came back. If he came back, where would he go? I mean, I don't see him going back to BC. They are doing great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this team has been now molded around what they can get from Vernon Adams Jr.
There'd be teams backing up Brinks trucks, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I could certainly see him in the East.
Yep. Hamilton. Yep.
I mean, to go to Brew Cup might be a good pace for like, hey, after this game, maybe I should stick around. Not going to be going to Montreal. I don't see him in Toronto.
Yeah, he's not going to Montreal unless that's a real extended injury to Fajardo.
Yeah.
Then they might consider it.
Depends when he would come, right? I mean, right now he's on a roster. He's not getting anywhere until October at the earliest.
Yeah, exactly.
So where would he go? I mean, Trevor Harris getting up there in age.
He's
what, 37, 38?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But I don't know if they're ready to move on from him. Jake Mayer, I don't know what to think of Jake Mayer.
Well, and that might be a spot. That might be a spot where they would consider it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Corey saying BC trades VA and signs Rourke.
I know me wrong. Rourke had an absolute, but what happens if he gets hurt again?
Right.
I mean, how many games has he started? 9?
10?
It's not that many.
It's not that many, but yeah.
Because he was injured for a good portion of the season.
Yeah. And then they went out and got VA, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they would do that or not, or whether they would just let. I'm sure they put a bid in, but I don't know. I'm not sure what happens.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, again, because we have no idea when he would even be coming back, because he's been busy on another league.
Yeah.
And obviously determined
maybe
to be
it's
in
even
that
here,
league,
right?
Right.
I mean, if Trey Ford has decided he wants to go east,
right,
and MBT is an older guy, then maybe he comes here. Who knows? Let's worry about that.
I'm good with I wanted to be Trey, but I'm good with either option if that's what happens. Yeah.
A little bit of a clarification from Ken. I meant to say today's practice was lower key than what Jones has done, even on a short week.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think that all applies still, that it's an emotional day. It's and not a lot of rest in comparison.
Apparently, we're not going to see him anywhere. Rourke will beat out Danny Dimes as a starter with the Giants.
Danny Dimes. Wow. Really just hoping for the best there. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, the kid is good. There's no doubt about it. So,
I mean, from the this vision test I have, it looks pretty good in the preseason.
Yeah. Yeah. The best comment I had on the weekend when he was doing the I think that was when because you and I were there and he was doing the interview, and didn't you say, like, do you think he'd be more comfortable standing there if he handed him a clipboard?
Yeah. A little more used to it at this point. Oh, this could be painful.
Oh my. Okay.
Won't Curtis be available to be drafted in the spring? Sure will.
Sure will.
Not by us. We don't have a first round pick.
Correct.
And he's definitely
is somebody going to, you think somebody would go a first on Curtis?
Well, we'll see.
Because I was going to say there's probably going to be a little more attention for going towards a NFL spot, and we don't usually. I know we drafted Trey in the first round, but how many other times has a Canadian quarterback been drafted in the first round? Yeah. So,
I mean, it's really depend. If there doesn't appear to be a lot, because the NFL draft will come first, and if he doesn't go very high, then maybe you take a shot. But I don't know if you'd want to take your first overall pick and on a guy that is likely going to kick around in the NFL for at least a few years.
Yeah, exactly. Although Hamilton has done that before, so
someone's got to.
I have to. There's one team that's as bad as us. I have to have a little bit of fun. That's it.
Just one.
Yeah. Everyone makes jokes at our team for a very long time, and they're not wrong, but still. All right.
Yeah. Leanne talking about the emotional state of the team. Re the departure, MBT apologized in his presser today for not doing well enough.
Yeah. And that's the kind of guy MBT is, right? Takes it on himself.
Again, solid leader. We talked about it again on the 2 and Out podcast. It's just, he is the kind of person you want leading a team.
Yes.
He takes full responsibility for everything. When we've seen him at practice or at fan day or things like that, he doesn't leave the field until every single person gets an autograph or gets a moment to talk to him.
Yeah.
Like that is just leading by example. And, not again that I have anything saying that Trey Ford isn't also that kind of person.
Correct. Yeah.
But it's just, if you're surrounding yourself with excellent people, that's a great person to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
All right. And I think this is a shot.
Okay.
The hosts are old enough to remember when we made fun of the writers for 20 years. 20.
I think it was longer than 20.
I think it was way longer than 20.
Yeah.
But what are you going to say? They had
how many Grey Cups again? How many Grey Cups for them?
4.
Right. How long?
Let's see. 1910s. What is that? 114 years?
Correct.
And of course, we joined the league in 49 and had our first Grey Cup 12 years before they had. BC joined in 54 and had their first Grey Cup before Saskatchewan did.
I see.
44 years after Saskatchewan still had their first Grey Cup before Saskatchewan.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, it's cool. We're gonna get blasted for that one, but
guaranteed.
That's fine.
Somewhere Marsha is just like gone.
Yeah, exactly. Screw you guys. I'm going home. Yeah.
Come on, she was born in Manitoba. She should have made fun of them for years. Last question I've got here so far. Do you think you'll see an attendance bump at the next home game with some fresh energy on the bench?
I do not. And the only reason I say that is because the fan base right now is a lot of them are win or we're not coming. So I mean,
we're with you, win or tie.
Correct. There's a lot of that right now. If they win in Ottawa and then find a way to win that home game against Hamilton, the next home game after that, maybe you see a bit of a bump because there's a trend and it looks like, okay, we're not going to come and just be crushed by what's going on. Now, on the other side of that, the Dino stuff was amazing and did really, really well. So Indigenous night is going to be great, but is it going to have the same feel as a Dino
draw?
Correct. So I wonder if when they get into some of their themes later in the season and we've had a few more W's under our belt, if we'll see that. I think that's going to be a progression type of thing.
As well, it's the opponent. I mean, we're playing Hamilton. So
right.
I don't know if that's necessarily a big draw. If we were playing Calgary, if we're playing Saskatchewan, even if we're playing BC, like at least their fans travel well. But Hamilton, I mean, we've had a few Hamilton fans come out here, but I mean, other than Mike from Podski, I don't many other Hamilton fans we've got coming out here.
Right.
I mean, even
yeah.
David Winchester switched over, got smart. Um,
Well, I mean, Wally's been out, and Laura's been out, but it's a little different than.
It's not as big of a draw, right? It's like
Right.
if you're a hockey fan, if Anaheim comes, or you're going to have a lot of people in the stands, not necessarily.
Right. On the other hand, maybe we can just start selling it as, hey, maybe we'll beat Bo Levi.
See, it's all on how you phrase it.
It's all about come cheer to beat Bo Levi. That's all.
That's right. Maybe just have little dartboards with his face on it.
Oh, I love this.
See?
I'm all over this. I am all over, like real lawn darts where you have to launch it into
whipping.
That's right. This is all. This is marketing gold. You're welcome.
Right. Or just have a little target that's like halfway down his body, and you can just kick balls into it or something. That could be fun. Who here would not line up for that?
I would.
100%. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't be upset about that. So we could, maybe that's the draw. We've already started it. Yeah.
We'll see. We're ideas people.
That's we're ideas people. All right. Yeah. That's because they won't do anything. They'll only just get. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Come on now. We're all behind Rhino days.
They smashed watermelons in BC. Why can't we, throw darts at Bo Levi? I think that's probably, I think it's fair. It's fine.
Totes.
You can still put him in a Calgary outfit. It would make it even better. Remember those trading cards you were talking about?
That's right. Corey says lawn darts now have Velcro ends and metal tips. I know.
Well, but we could find some old ones. Let's find some old ones. Let's do that.
That's right.
Fun. Yeah.
Somebody's got them in a garage sale somewhere.
I'm sure somewhere. Yeah. eBay.
Fun for the kids.
Good. Off to eBay. I will find some. Yeah. All right, Mike. Well, I think we can wrap this one up for this week.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for staying on with us to join in all of the chat and to have some fun with us. Of course, the big change coming this week, so will be interesting to see what happens on Friday under new interim head coach Jarius Jackson. So I'm excited to see what the team will bring to that and see if that's the thing that kind of points them in the right direction. So we will hope for that. Superfan, where does everybody find you again?
See if I can do this. You can find me at 56 Parkies and the Edmonton Football History account at EDMHISTOREE.
Wonderful. And you follow our sister at Duchess Lombardi, me at Freepalicious, and the show at the Turf District on all of the different social channels. Thank you again for joining us. We will be back next week to talk about the Ottawa game and set up the Hamilton game and Indigenous Night. Thank you, Big Fan Night 2019, for reminding me. And we will be back to chat that. Hopefully have a little guest with us to have a little bit of fun. See how this goes. Little bit of fun. Yeah. We have a little bit of fun every week, don't we?
Oh, you said little guest. So.
Oh, a little guest. Yeah. No, I meant a guest to have a little bit of.
Oh, okay, there we go.
All right. Thanks for everybody. For Commissioner Kayla and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.